She was born into a network of real estate, branding power, and political influence tied to assets worth billions of dollars long before she turned 18. Madison Trump did not inherit a trust fund alone. She inherited proximity to a dynasty that blends luxury estates, private aviation, and media dominance. Watch until the end, because you'll see the single asset that may shape her future leverage more than family wealth itself. Born into a billion-dollar political dynasty, she did not simply enter the world with a silver spoon. She entered it beneath a chandelier of political power, real estate dominance, and media visibility valued in the billions of dollars. Madison Trump was born into a family structure anchored to an estimated $10 billion personal empire, supported by a multi-generational real estate machine that stretches across luxury towers, golf resorts, licensing deals, and international branding agreements. Before she ever chose a career path, the infrastructure around her had already been built. Skyscrapers bearing the family name, resort properties spanning acres of waterfront land, and hospitality ventures operating globally formed the backdrop of her childhood. Wealth in this context is not abstract. It is concrete, steel, and coastline. As the eldest granddaughter of Donald Trump, she entered not only affluence, but amplification. Political influence and financial capital converged in the same household. Her father, Donald Trump Jr., with an estimated net worth of $350 million, operates within the Trump Organization's global portfolio, an entity managing high-value properties, commercial real estate, and luxury developments worth billions collectively. That means boardrooms and strategy conversations were not distant adult affairs, they were ambient background noise. From birth, Kai represented the first visible heir of the next generation. In dynastic families, symbolism matters. The eldest grandchild carries narrative weight. Photographs, public appearances, and milestone events are not random documentation, they reinforce continuity. When she attended a presidential inauguration at just 10 years old, she was not merely a child observing history. She was positioned within it. Participation in White House Easter egg rolls and national events exposed her to state-level optics long before adulthood. But growing up inside, such visibility comes with layers unseen by casual observers. Security planning shapes routine. Media scrutiny amplifies ordinary moments. Privacy becomes a managed resource rather than a default right. The cost of protecting individuals connected to a high-profile political figure can reach millions of dollars annually, depending on threat assessment levels and travel frequency. Even when not publicly detailed, infrastructure follows visibility. There is also the psychological dimension. In families where the surname itself carries economic value, identity and brand intertwine early. The Trump name functions not only as lineage, but as a commercial asset attached to properties, ventures, and public perception. That creates opportunity, but also expectation. This is the paradox of inherited prominence. Access arrives automatically, autonomy does not. So here is the central tension. When someone is born into a billion-dollar ecosystem where wealth, politics, and branding converge, is the future predetermined by infrastructure, or can it still be independently engineered? Let me know your thoughts below. Relocation to Florida and elite academic positioning. The move was not accidental. In 2020, at just 13 years old, Madison Trump relocated from New York to Jupiter, Florida, a decision that quietly repositioned her inside one of the most strategically valuable ecosystems in American elite society. Jupiter is not simply a coastal town. It is a corridor of private golf clubs, waterfront estates, and ultra-high net worth neighbors. Just minutes away stands Mar-a-Lago, valued at approximately $160 million, a property that functions not only as a luxury resort, but as a political and social command center. Proximity, in families like this, is leverage. Her primary residence became a $13.1 million mansion in Jupiter, featuring 6 bedrooms, a resort-style pool, expansive outdoor entertainment areas, and direct golf course access. This was not just about comfort, it was about alignment. Florida offered something New York could not: controlled space, year-round golf culture, and immediate access to family-owned courses where training and visibility intersected. In elite circles, geography is strategy. Enrollment at the Benjamin School, one of South Florida's most prestigious private institutions, further refined that positioning. Annual tuition at comparable elite academies often exceeds tens of thousands of dollars, but beyond cost lies social filtration. Schools like Benjamin are populated by children of CEOs, professional athletes, and hedge fund managers. Networks are formed early, alliances are built before careers even begin. Education here is less about textbooks and more about long-term proximity to influence. Kai did not simply attend, she rose. Serving as varsity golf team captain during her sophomore year, she led the team to multiple championships and earned a leadership award. Leadership titles at this stage are more than extracurricular honors, they reinforce narrative identity. Captaincy signals discipline, responsibility, and public-facing composure traits aligned with both athletic and brand development. In families accustomed to public scrutiny, optics matter. Her social environment expanded beyond classmates. Jupiter's golf culture includes access to championship courses and proximity to families such as Tiger Woods, whose son attended the same school. Shared competitive spaces create informal alliances. Exposure to high-level athletic households introduces performance standards beyond ordinary teenage experience. The culture is competitive, but also transactional. Talent meets opportunity under watchful eyes. Yet beneath the polished exterior lies the quiet pressure of expectation. When a surname carries economic and political weight, every achievement is scrutinized. Success can be attributed to skill or dismissed as inheritance. The Florida relocation created opportunity, but it also intensified visibility. In elite dynasties, movement is rarely random. It is calculated positioning. Florida offered climate, capital, and continuity. The question that lingers is whether this environment will amplify independent achievement or permanently tether identity to legacy. Golf as strategic identity and competitive asset. Before most children learn long division, she was learning wind direction, green speed, and pressure management on championship fairways worth millions of dollars in annual membership revenue. Golf was never a hobby, it was architecture. Kai Madison Trump began playing at age 4, not on municipal courses, but on meticulously manicured layouts connected to a global portfolio of luxury golf properties. These are venues where initiation fees alone can exceed 6 figures, where private membership rosters read like Fortune 500 directories, and where every tournament doubles as a networking summit. Early repetition in that environment builds more than swing mechanics, it builds composure under observation. Over time, her technical development became measurable. A plus 0.5 handicap places a player inside an elite statistical tier, meaning she performs consistently under par relative to course rating. In junior golf, that is not recreational. It signals advanced ball striking, controlled course management, and psychological resilience. Maintaining such a handicap requires structured practice schedules, access to high-level coaching, data tracking, and equipment optimization. None of that is accidental. Competitive golf at this level can cost tens of thousands of dollars annually in coaching fees, tournament travel, biomechanics analysis, and custom fittings. Her victories at Trump International Palm Beach Club Championships were symbolic beyond trophies. Winning inside a family-owned property reinforces narrative continuity. It blurs the line between personal merit and inherited infrastructure. Observers see both discipline and privilege occupying the same photograph. Sponsorships followed. Equipment partnerships with brands such as Callaway and TaylorMade are not ceremonial gestures. Endorsement contracts in elite junior golf can reach substantial valuation depending on projected trajectory and media visibility. Custom AI-tailored clubs, performance analytics, and brand integration create a hybrid identity, athlete and asset. When a young player carries both competitive credentials and built-in media reach, the commercial upside multiplies. Yet performance is never linear, rankings matter. She has faced setbacks on the junior circuit, including placements outside top tiers in national competitions. Rankings in organizations such as AJGA and Universal Golf fluctuate based on field strength, scoring averages, and consistency. Critics point to these metrics when debating whether sponsor exemptions or high-profile tournament entries reflect merit or surname gravity. Her LPGA Tour debut intensified that scrutiny. Competing via sponsors exemption placed her against seasoned professionals. An opening round that finished double digits over par triggered predictable commentary. The next round improved, showing adjustment under pressure, but the cut was missed. On paper, it was a learning experience. In public discourse, it became a referendum. Here lies the deeper question. In elite sport, how much of opportunity is access and how much is execution? Infrastructure can open gates, but it cannot guarantee leaderboard positions. Golf remains brutally indifferent to headlines. Fairways reward precision, not pedigree. The next phase will test whether this identity, crafted across luxury courses, sharpened under cameras, and financed by substantial capital, can transition from symbolic promise to sustained competitive legitimacy. NIL deals, brand monetization, and entrepreneurial moves. The real transformation did not happen on a golf course. It happened on a balance sheet. By February 2025, Madison Trump's NIL valuation reached $1.2 million, officially ranking her second among amateur golfers nationwide. That figure was not hype. It was a calculated market estimate based on engagement metrics, sponsorship demand, audience growth velocity, and projected brand conversion rates. In modern athletics, NIL valuation represents anticipated monetization power. It is Wall Street logic applied to a teenager's digital footprint. And in a striking twist of optics, her projected annual earning potential through endorsements exceeded the $400,000 presidential salary once attached to the Oval Office. Symbolism matters at this level. But NIL is not passive income, it is structured architecture. Behind every endorsement sits a negotiation table, lawyers drafting clauses, agents calibrating deliverables, brand managers projecting ROI. Golf brands seeking alignment do not merely purchase logo placement, they purchase narrative. They align with an athlete whose surname alone generates global media impressions worth millions of dollars in equivalent advertising exposure. When influence and athletics intersect, sponsorship value compounds. Her sponsorship ecosystem includes equipment, partnerships, apparel endorsements, and collectible trading card deals, each structured to maximize both performance, credibility, and digital amplification. Brands are not betting solely on tournament results. They are investing in audience density. With multi-million follow accounts across platforms, every post carries monetization potential. A single sponsored integration on a high-engagement platform can generate six-figure returns depending on impressions and click-through rates. In the influencer economy, reach is not vanity. It is currency. Then came the shift from endorsement to ownership. In 2025, she launched KT, her clothing brand. This was more than merchandise. It was vertical integration. Endorsing brands builds short-term revenue. Owning a brand builds equity. Even a modest apparel line supported by a multi-million digital audience can generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in first-year sales if executed with strategic drops, limited releases, and scarcity marketing. With controlled supply and direct-to-consumer channels, margins increase dramatically. Ownership changes the equation. The influencer economy rewards consistency. Algorithms prioritize engagement velocity. A single viral appearance can spike follower growth by hundreds of thousands in days. That spike converts into leverage during contract renegotiations. Brands calculate value based on exposure, volume, and demographic alignment. A teenage golfer positioned at the intersection of sport, luxury lifestyle, and political lineage represents a uniquely layered demographic cluster. Yet behind the polished metrics lies quiet pressure. Monetization at this scale invites scrutiny. Critics question merit, supporters cite work ethic. In reality, both visibility and discipline coexist. NIL frameworks reward opportunity, but they also demand performance. Sponsors monitor engagement rates, brand sentiment, and content consistency. Contracts contain performance triggers. Deliverables must be met. This is no longer a story about inheritance. It is a story about conversion, how legacy visibility transforms into independent enterprise. The next chapter will reveal whether this monetized platform evolves into a standalone empire or remains an extension of the infrastructure that made it possible. Luxury lifestyle and asset access. Luxury at this level is not about ownership. It is about seamless access to assets that most people only see in headlines. Madison Trump operates within a property ecosystem that reads less like a personal portfolio and more like a distributed power grid. In Florida, the $13.1 million waterfront mansion functions as a private command center, 6 bedrooms, resort-style pool, layered landscaping, and direct adjacency to elite golf corridors. But that address is only one node. There is also the Washington, D.C. estate, positioned on more than 3 acres, equipped with a 50-foot pool, full tennis courts, and controlled entry security perimeters designed to shield movement from public view. And then there is Mar-a-Lago, valued near $160 million, a property that operates simultaneously as a luxury residence, private club, political gathering space, and international negotiation backdrop. These are not simply homes. They are strategic venues where influence is staged. Vehicles follow the same logic of layered access. A $60,000 Jeep Wagoneer provides practical discretion. A $82,000 Tesla Cybertruck projects modern alignment with technological branding. A BMW 7 Series and a Range Rover add executive polish. Yet the symbolic shift occurs when proximity extends to the armored presidential Cadillac, widely referred to as the Beast, valued at approximately $1.5 million, engineered with military-grade defensive systems and reinforced architecture. Transportation, in this context, is not about status. It is about controlled mobility under threat assessment frameworks few ever experience. Air travel magnifies the scale. The family's Cessna Citation X, one of the fastest private jets in civilian aviation, compresses cross-country distance into hours. Beyond that stands the custom $100 million Boeing 757, reconfigured with tailored interiors, private suites, conference areas, and signature design finishes. Private aviation at this tier is not indulgence, it is operational efficiency. Time becomes negotiable. Routing becomes private, exposure becomes minimized. Fashion too is calibrated. A $7,000 Rolex Datejust signals generational continuity in luxury watch culture. Designer wardrobe collections, sourced from premium houses, ensure consistent image architecture across public appearances. In high-profile families, clothing functions as non-verbal positioning. Each accessory is chosen within a broader narrative ecosystem. Yet behind the visible architecture lies cost layering rarely discussed. Property maintenance on estates of this magnitude can require hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in staffing, landscaping, security upgrades, and infrastructure preservation. Aircraft maintenance and storage for a Boeing 757 can reach into multi-million-dollar annual commitments. Security logistics scale in proportion to visibility. Wealth at this altitude is not idle capital, it is a constantly moving machine. This is the distinction between affluent living and embedded legacy infrastructure. Assets are not episodic luxuries, they are permanent environments, shaping perception, access, and expectation. The deeper question now becomes whether such sustained exposure to scale produces complacency or forges ambition designed to expand the architecture even further. Public scrutiny, political neutrality, and future positioning. The moment she stepped onto that convention stage in 2024, the equation shifted. It was not simply a speech, it was a recalibration of visibility. Within hours, follower counts surged, engagement rates multiplied, and her digital footprint expanded into the multi-million range. Analysts who track influence metrics noted that her social media audience effectively tripled almost overnight, transforming her from a recognizable surname into a scalable personal brand. In the modern economy, attention converts into valuation, and valuation translates into leverage measured in million-dollar endorsement potential. But amplification comes at a cost. Public scrutiny intensifies in direct proportion to visibility. Every facial expression, every sentence, every online interaction becomes dissected through political, cultural, and generational lenses. For a teenager connected to a family associated with an estimated $10 billion real estate and branding empire, neutrality becomes a strategic position rather than an emotional preference. She has publicly described politics as dangerous and placed herself in the middle, distancing her identity from direct political ambition. That choice preserves flexibility. Corporate partnerships, international sponsorships, and cross-border ventures often demand ideological neutrality to maintain global market access worth billions of dollars. Behind the scenes, security infrastructure shapes daily life. High-profile families frequently allocate substantial budgets, sometimes reaching into seven-figure annual sums for protective operations that include surveillance assessments, secure transportation logistics, and risk mitigation planning. Even ordinary teenage milestones unfold under discreet oversight. Privacy is no longer passive, it is engineered. Social invitations require coordination. Travel requires layered planning. The cost of visibility is measured not only in dollar, but in autonomy. Simultaneously, her academic trajectory reflects calculated positioning. Committing to the University of Miami Golf program while pursuing a double major in business administration and digital technology signals long-term architecture rather than short-term fame. Business administration offers literacy in capital structures, asset valuation, and enterprise expansion. Digital technology equips her with fluency in algorithmic ecosystems where brand equity is monetized in real time. In an era where influencer-driven commerce can generate multi-million-dollar annual revenue streams, understanding both balance sheets and digital infrastructure creates compound advantage. Speculation continues about potential involvement in global expansion initiatives tied to the Trump Organization, particularly in high-growth regions where luxury real estate projects can exceed hundreds of $1 million in development scale. Whether that path materializes is uncertain, but positioning matters. Being educated in both capital strategy and digital monetization allows for optionality across industries. She now occupies a rare intersection: elite athletics, inherited multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, algorithm-driven branding, and political visibility. Each pillar independently can create wealth. Together, they form a multi-dimensional power platform capable of shaping influence across markets. The real question is whether this generation will simply inherit the architecture or redesign it. Share your perspective below. Madison Trump's trajectory reveals three strategic patterns common among ultra-wealthy dynasties. First, proximity to infrastructure matters more than personal net worth. Access to real estate empires, aviation assets, and global networks creates leverage that compounds quietly over time. Second, security and visibility move together. Protection, controlled environments, and curated exposure are not luxuries. They are cost centers necessary to preserve brand and influence. Third, modern eras increasingly monetize narrative. Through NIL deals, social platforms, and entrepreneurship, reputation becomes a revenue stream independent of inherited capital. Across Asia's billionaire families and global dynasties alike, wealth is rarely static. It is engineered to sustain influence across generations. If you appreciate strategic breakdowns of next-generation power structures, consider liking and subscribing. In Part 2, we will examine another young heir whose financial positioning may redefine how legacy wealth evolves in the digital era.